chosen one. Before you move another inch, allow yourself to become completely present. Set aside every distraction, every expectation, every thought racing through your mind, and pay attention to the feeling quietly stirring beneath it all. There is something unusual surrounding this day, something that cannot be measured by logic or explained through ordinary perception. Beneath the routines that normally shape your life, another current is moving, one so subtle that only a soul prepared to recognize it could ever notice its presence. Today is not simply another page on the calendar. July 5th carries an energy unlike the days that came before it. Hidden beneath the visible world is a living rhythm that has begun to change, and while countless people will move through this day without sensing anything different, your spirit has already started responding to it. That is why you are here. This moment was not created by coincidence, and your decision to watch this message was never a random impulse. Something far older than your conscious awareness has been quietly guiding your steps, leading you through experiences, questions, and unexpected turns until they brought you to this exact point in time. What has remained concealed for so long is no longer able to stay hidden forever. The invisible curtain separating what you know from what your soul remembers is becoming thinner. The truth is not arriving all at once. Instead, it reveals itself piece by piece, through emotions that seem to appear without explanation, through sudden realizations that interrupt familiar thinking, and through an inner recognition that feels strangely familiar, even though you cannot identify where it began. If your heart is already responding to these words, do not dismiss that response as imagination. That quiet sensation rising inside your chest deserves your attention because it is speaking a language deeper than thought. Allow yourself to become fully present with this experience. Stay with it. Ground yourself in this moment, because what is unfolding is not ordinary conversation or casual inspiration. You are stepping into an experience that has been waiting for your arrival, and everything beginning inside you now will shape everything that follows. The transformation has already started. It is not happening only in the circumstances around your life. It is unfolding within the deepest layers of your own consciousness, and that invisible movement is where every meaningful change is born. Throughout existence, there have always been rare moments when reality itself appears to pause, when unseen patterns align with extraordinary precision, creating an opening that seems guided by an intelligence far greater than human understanding. July 5th represents one of those extraordinary moments. The greater design has already shifted into motion, and whether you feel completely confident or filled with uncertainty makes no difference because the process has already begun carrying you forward. Perhaps you have noticed a strange restlessness growing inside you without any obvious explanation. Maybe you have felt unable to settle into the familiar routines that once felt comfortable, as though one part of your spirit is urging you toward an unknown future, while another part desperately wants to remain where everything still feels predictable and safe. It is easy to mistake that internal struggle for confusion. Yet that is not what you are experiencing. What you are feeling is the powerful tension that appears whenever one version of yourself begins giving way to another. Your deeper self is reaching beyond the limits of your current understanding, inviting you toward a reality your logical mind cannot yet fully imagine. The discomfort accompanying this transition is not evidence that something has gone wrong. It is evidence that something profoundly meaningful has begun. What appears disordered on the surface is actually a higher pattern arranging itself according to a purpose that has always existed beneath the visible events of your life. The universe is not working against you. It is carefully moving every necessary piece into its proper place, so your path can unfold exactly as it was intended. Long before this day arrived, before the disappointments, before the unanswered questions, before the painful moments that made you wonder whether you had lost your direction, your soul had already been prepared for this turning point. There has always been a reason your journey felt more demanding than the paths walked by many of the people around you. There has always been a reason you often carried emotions others could not understand, why you sometimes felt separated from those closest to you, or why loneliness visited you, even in crowded places. None of those experiences happened without meaning, and none of them were designed as punishment. Every challenge served a purpose that was invisible while you were living through it. Each difficult season shaped your character beyond comfort, stripped away illusions that could no longer support your growth, and pushed you beyond the shallow version of life where so many remain asleep to their own potential. Every hardship strengthened something within your spirit that comfort never could. Every period of silence taught you to trust the wisdom already living inside you. Every moment when you believed you were falling apart was actually creating greater space within you for something larger than your previous identity could contain. Not everyone is capable of carrying the awareness, responsibility, and profound transformation that accompany genuine alignment with their higher purpose. Yet everything you have survived has quietly prepared you for exactly that responsibility. Even during the times when you believed nothing meaningful was happening, preparation continued beneath the surface. You have not fallen behind your destiny, and you have never wandered beyond its reach. You are arriving precisely when your soul is ready to receive what comes next. The first indication that this sacred shift has begun will probably not arrive through dramatic events or overwhelming external signs. Instead, it will reveal itself with remarkable gentleness. It will feel like a quiet voice rising from somewhere deep inside your being, persistent enough that ignoring it becomes impossible. You may not immediately understand what it is trying to show you, yet an unmistakable certainty will begin replacing doubt. You will simply know that something important has started unfolding even before you can explain it with words. You may notice yourself recognizing situations before they fully develop, sensing the direction events will take before visible evidence appears, or feeling naturally guided towards certain people while instinctively stepping away from others without any logical explanation for those decisions. This growing clarity is not being created by your analytical mind. It is emerging because your inner alignment is becoming stronger with every passing moment. Your intuition is awakening into a sharper, steadier, and more reliable guide, allowing you to perceive truth with increasing precision as this remarkable journey continues to unfold. You may already be noticing that what once seemed impossible to understand has suddenly become unmistakably clear. Situations that used to leave you questioning yourself now reveal their meaning almost effortlessly. Relationships that once felt deeply connected may now seem strangely out of harmony, as though the invisible thread that held them together has quietly dissolved. Dreams and ambitions that once filled you with excitement may no longer ignite the same fire, instead leaving behind an unexpected sense of heaviness or emotional emptiness. Do not mistake these experiences for failure, loss, or a step backward. They are evidence that something far more profound is taking place. Your soul is adjusting its inner compass, gradually separating you from energies that no longer belong in your journey, while drawing you toward people, experiences, and opportunities that genuinely resonate with who you are becoming. The next indication of this transformation is far less subtle. Rather than arriving like a whisper, it enters your life with enough force to shake the structures you once believed were permanent. Familiar routines begin to break apart. Circumstances you trusted to remain predictable suddenly become uncertain. The sense of control you carefully built over your life may begin slipping through your hands. Plans that appeared secure may dissolve without warning. Conversations may unexpectedly alter the direction of important relationships. Opportunities you believed were guaranteed may disappear entirely or return wearing a form so different that you barely recognize them. During those moments, your first instinct may be to believe that everything is moving in the wrong direction. You may wonder whether you have somehow lost your footing or wandered away from the path you were meant to follow. Yet beneath that immediate emotional response exists another possibility, one that can only be seen when you are willing to look beyond temporary disappointment. Imagine that every interruption has been placed with extraordinary precision. Imagine that each unexpected ending has arrived to prevent you from continuing toward a destination that no longer serves your highest growth. The universe never creates empty space without intending to fill it with something more suitable. Every postponed plan, every cancelled opportunity, and every surprising change is quietly clearing away what has become incompatible with your evolution so that something more authentic can finally enter. The difficult truth is that genuine alignment rarely feels comfortable while it is happening. There are seasons when life appears to be unraveling even though it is actually being rebuilt according to a far greater design. What seems broken from your current perspective may eventually reveal itself as the exact sequence of events required to place you where you truly belong. Instead of resisting the disruption, allow yourself to trust that it carries intelligence beyond your immediate understanding. It has not arrived to defeat you. It has arrived to reposition you. Perhaps you have also noticed another powerful change unfolding beneath the surface. Your emotional world may feel more alive than it has in a very long time. Feelings that once remained hidden beneath endless responsibilities, constant distractions, or simple survival have begun rising into your awareness with surprising intensity. Sadness may appear without an obvious explanation. Anger may surface with unexpected strength. Memories that once seemed confusing may suddenly reveal truths you could never recognize before. None of this is happening by accident. Your spirit is entering a process of purification. The universe cannot carry you into a higher level of consciousness while unresolved emotional burdens continue weighing down your heart. Instead of leaving those hidden wounds buried forever, it gently brings them into the light where they can finally be acknowledged, understood, and released. Every emotion moving through you represents energy finding its way toward freedom. It is not asking to imprison you, it is asking to complete its journey. Allow yourself to experience these emotions without judgment and without trying to escape them. On the other side of this emotional cleansing waits a clarity and inner peace, unlike anything you have known before, because the weight you have carried for so long will no longer define your experience of life. You may also have become increasingly aware of moments that feel far too precise to dismiss as ordinary chance. Small details begin aligning with remarkable timing, almost as though reality itself is quietly answering your inner questions. Repeating numbers appear exactly when your attention is ready to receive them. A song begins playing, and its words seem to express thoughts you have not spoken aloud. Encounters with certain people occur at moments so perfectly timed that they challenge your understanding of coincidence. These experiences represent another unmistakable sign that your journey is unfolding according to a greater design. Synchronicities become the language through which the universe gently reassures those who are moving into alignment. They serve as quiet confirmations that every step you are taking is being witnessed, that you are not traveling through this transformation alone, and that an unseen intelligence continues guiding your path with extraordinary accuracy. The more willing you become to notice these moments, the more frequently they seem to appear, gradually forming a pattern too meaningful to ignore. This growing awareness is not the product of imagination. It is evidence of a living connection developing between your inner world and the greater intelligence surrounding your life. If even one of these experiences has awakened recognition within you, if any part of your heart has quietly whispered that these words describe something already unfolding inside your own journey, then understand the significance of this moment. This message has arrived because it carries meaning for where you stand today. What is taking place on July 5th reaches far beyond an ordinary change or a temporary emotional phase. It marks a threshold separating the life you've known from the life that is beginning to emerge. Yet everything revealed until now represents only the first layer of a much deeper unfolding. Additional signs remain hidden beneath the surface. Greater awakenings are still preparing to reveal themselves. New realizations may challenge everything you once believed about your purpose, your direction, and the role you are meant to fulfill within this unfolding chapter of your life. Remain fully present. Keep your heart open to what is still arriving. Do not withdraw now, because the journey is preparing to carry you further into the message the universe has been unfolding specifically for this moment. Even now, a quiet separation is taking place within your own identity. Without fully realizing it, you are slowly creating distance between yourself and the version of you that once felt so permanent. At first, this transition may seem unfamiliar or even unsettling, as though you're observing your old habits, emotional reactions, and long-established desires from a place of quiet awareness instead of automatically becoming absorbed by them. The interests, routines, conversations, and environments that once seemed central to your identity no longer carry the same emotional gravity. What once felt completely natural may now seem strangely unfamiliar, as though you are gradually outgrowing a life that no longer reflects who you are becoming. What you are living through should never be mistaken for uncertainty or the loss of your identity. What is unfolding is the natural progression of your evolution. You are not disappearing. You are allowing the layers that were built out of necessity, fear, and survival to fall away so the truest version of yourself can finally emerge. The personality you once relied upon was never the final destination. It was protection for an earlier season of your life. Now that season has reached its completion and another is beginning to reveal itself naturally. This transition can create moments when solitude feels deeper than usual because you are no longer fully connected to who you used to be, while the person you are becoming has not yet completely stepped into the light. That space between endings and beginnings is not empty. It is sacred. It is within this quiet interval that your deepest transformation takes root. Resist the temptation to hurry through it or retreat into familiar patterns simply because they feel comfortable. Every moment spent in this in-between state is allowing your spirit to outgrow the limitations of your past and prepare itself for what comes next. At the same time, another force has likely begun making itself impossible to ignore. It continues returning to your awareness, no matter how many distractions you place in its path. It may not arrive with a detailed plan or perfectly organized instructions, yet its presence remains constant. Again and again, your attention is pulled toward the same possibility. Perhaps it is the desire to create something meaningful, to begin speaking your truth, to change your environment, to take an unexpected step, or to pursue a dream that fills your heart with equal measures of excitement and uncertainty. This persistent inner movement is far more than ordinary inspiration. It represents another unmistakable sign that your soul is drawing you toward deeper alignment with the purpose that has always existed beneath the surface of your life. Its intensity grows because ignoring it has become increasingly difficult. What could once be postponed without consequence now creates inner resistance whenever you attempt to silence it. The longer you avoid responding, the stronger its presence becomes. It is not trying to pressure you. It is patiently reminding you that beyond your willingness to act exists a version of your future waiting for permission to unfold. This invitation is not demanding flawless execution or complete certainty. It asks only that you begin moving. As you continue forward, another remarkable change gradually begins taking shape. The uncertainty that once clouded your thinking starts dissolving almost without your noticing. The mental fog that made every decision feel overwhelming slowly gives way to unmistakable clarity. Understanding arrives naturally rather than through struggle. Realizations emerge with surprising ease. Questions that once seemed impossible to answer suddenly reveal solutions that feel almost self-evident. This marks another profound stage of your journey, one that often appears only after you have endured long seasons of questioning yourself and your direction. Genuine clarity is not handed to anyone without preparation. It is developed through lived experience, through honest reflection, and through the courage to remain present even when answers refuse to appear immediately. What you are receiving now is the result of everything you have already endured. The scattered pieces of your story are beginning to fit together. Hidden patterns reveal their purpose. Connections that once escaped your awareness become impossible to overlook. Yet this new understanding also carries responsibility, because once truth becomes visible, returning to comforting illusions is no longer possible. You are now being invited to walk forward with open eyes and conscious intention. When all of these signs begin appearing together, even in subtle ways, something extraordinary begins changing beneath the surface of your life. From the outside, everything may appear almost unchanged, yet within you an entirely different reality is forming. A quiet sense of alignment begins replacing constant uncertainty, not because every problem has vanished, but because your experiences finally begin fitting into a larger picture that makes profound sense. The disappointments, delays, and unexpected challenges that once seemed meaningless gradually reveal the purpose they were always serving. You begin understanding why certain chapters had to close, why particular opportunities never became permanent, and why life repeatedly guided you toward directions you had never planned to take. This is the point where resistance gradually loses its grip. It may not disappear overnight, but it weakens enough for you to recognize that life has never been working against you. Every event has been participating in your growth with remarkable precision. The universe has not been creating random tests simply to measure your endurance. It has been intentionally guiding every step of your unfolding. As this realization settles more deeply within your awareness, your energy naturally changes. Your choices become different. Your perspective becomes different. Your responses become different. Alignment is no longer something you believe exists somewhere in the future, waiting to be found. It becomes the way you live each moment. While this awakening becomes increasingly clear within you, it is important to recognize that many people around you may never perceive what you are experiencing. This does not mean they lack value or ability. It simply means they are not standing at the same point in their own journey. Many will dismiss meaningful patterns as coincidence. Others will ignore the discomfort asking them to grow. Still others will continue holding tightly to familiar circumstances long after those circumstances have stopped supporting their evolution. This is where your own path quietly begins separating from theirs. Not because you stand above anyone else, but because your journey now asks something different of you. Awareness always carries responsibility. Once you recognize what is changing within your life, you must choose whether to honor that awareness or continue resisting it. That decision is rarely simple. It requires faith before certainty appears. It asks you to continue walking without possessing every answer in advance. Yet that willingness to move forward despite uncertainty is precisely what makes your path unlike the path followed by the majority. You were never meant merely to repeat familiar patterns. You came here to move beyond them. As this deeper alignment continues unfolding, another powerful experience often rises into awareness. Fear begins speaking more loudly, not the healthy instinct that protects you from genuine danger, but the quieter fear that prefers the safety of what is already known. It fills your thoughts with doubt. It encourages you to question every meaningful decision. It reminds you of previous disappointments, painful memories, and uncertain outcomes. Although this fear deserves compassion, it should never become the voice directing your future. It is simply the echo of the identity that once kept you safe, attempting to preserve its influence. Whenever you approach unfamiliar territory, the mind naturally resists because it cannot predict what lies ahead. Yet, this reaction should not be misunderstood. Fear is not reliable evidence that you have chosen the wrong direction. Quite often it appears precisely because you are approaching the growth your soul has been seeking all along. The goal has never been to eliminate fear completely. The real invitation is to continue walking even while fear remains beside you. Beyond that threshold waits a level of expansion impossible to reach by remaining where everything feels familiar. Think back to those seasons when progress seemed painfully slow, when every effort appeared to produce little or no visible movement, and when it felt as though life itself had placed invisible barriers in your path. Consider another possibility. What if those periods were never intended as delays at all? What if they were carefully designed moments of preparation? The universe does not measure time according to human impatience. Instead, it operates with extraordinary precision. Every pause, every season of waiting, every stretch where nothing appeared to change, was quietly positioning you exactly where you needed to stand. During those moments, you were learning lessons that could not have been learned any other way. You were developing qualities that future chapters of your life would require. You were becoming the person capable of carrying what is now beginning to arrive. Looking back, you can start recognizing that nothing was wasted. No experience occurred without purpose. Every challenge, every detour, and every unanswered question contributed to bringing you here. You were never being rejected by your destiny. You were gradually being brought into alignment with it. The sensations moving through you today should not be dismissed as imagination or explained away as simple overthinking. The growing awareness, the inner tension, the unmistakable pull towards something greater, all possess genuine significance. Even though they cannot be measured through ordinary physical senses, they are no less real than anything visible before your eyes. You are gradually tuning yourself to a level of awareness that has always existed, yet only now has become clear enough for you to recognize. That is why your perception feels different. That is why your understanding continues expanding. You are no longer experiencing life from the same level of consciousness you occupied only a short time ago. As your awareness grows, so does your capacity to move through reality with greater wisdom, greater intention, and greater trust. Honor what your heart is quietly revealing, even before your mind is capable of explaining every part of the journey. What is awakening inside you reaches far beyond a passing emotion or a fleeting moment of inspiration. It marks the beginning of a relationship unlike any you have experienced before, a deeper bond with your own spirit, with the direction your life has always been moving toward, and with an intelligence greater than either of those. Every genuine awakening eventually arrives at a point where one truth becomes impossible to deny. There is simply no returning to the person you once believed yourself to be. That moment has now arrived. You are standing before an unseen threshold, invisible to ordinary sight, yet unmistakable within the deepest part of your being. Here, the life you have already lived and the life preparing to unfold no longer exist together. The identity that once accepted confusion as normal, tolerated disconnection, and remained comfortable in places that no longer reflected your truth, cannot continue existing alongside the awareness now emerging within you. Part of your mind may still long for familiar routines, predictable outcomes, and the comfort of what has always been known, yet another part of you has grown stronger than that desire. It refuses to let you settle for a reality you have already outgrown. This is the moment when retreat loses its power, not because anything outside of you is forcing the journey forward, but because your spirit no longer resonates with the frequency of the life you are leaving behind. Nothing has been taken away from you. The doorway to your past still exists, but its energy no longer matches the person you are becoming. Meanwhile, the unknown future continues calling your attention with a quiet certainty that grows stronger each time you attempt to ignore it. The significance of July 5th has not unfolded equally for everyone. While many people will experience this day as if it were no different from any other, your experience has become something entirely different. For you, this day has become a catalyst. The reason lies not in the calendar itself, but within your own readiness. Your awareness has expanded to the point where realities once hidden can finally reveal themselves. Every awakening unfolds according to precise timing, and your own timing has reached the moment when deeper understanding becomes possible. You have arrived at a level of inner alignment that allows you to recognize, receive, and respond to signs that remain invisible to those who have not yet reached the same stage of their journey. This has nothing to do with being greater than anyone else. It has everything to do with being prepared. The universe never forces awakening before a soul is capable of carrying it. Instead, it reveals truth layer by layer, allowing each new level of awareness to arrive only when the foundation beneath it has become strong enough to support it. Something inside you is quietly opened, creating the space required for this activation to unfold. July 5th is not transforming reality for everyone in the same way. It is transforming your reality, because your perspective has become ready to perceive what has always existed beyond ordinary awareness. Even if the outer circumstances of your life appear unchanged, do not mistake stillness for the absence of movement. Beneath everything visible, a profound realignment has already begun. Directions are shifting. Timelines are adjusting themselves. New possibilities are gradually finding their place. Although you may not yet possess the complete picture, you are already sensing the effects of these invisible changes. That is why familiar routines no longer feel quite right. That is why old ways of thinking seem increasingly uncomfortable. That is why unexpected directions continue drawing your attention without providing complete explanations. Your journey is being recalibrated to reflect the level of consciousness you now carry. What once fit naturally within your life has fulfilled its purpose. What belongs to your future is still taking shape. Between those two realities exists a sacred space that cannot be crossed through certainty alone. It requires trust, not blind belief without reason, but a quiet confidence born from the deeper wisdom already living within you. Even when your eyes cannot yet see the complete design, every piece continues moving into its proper place with extraordinary precision. You may also have begun recognizing an increasing sense of distance between yourself and certain people, familiar environments or long-held ways of thinking that once felt completely natural. Conversations that previously inspired you may now seem strangely empty. Relationships that once flowed effortlessly may begin feeling unexpectedly strained. This change should not be interpreted as failure, nor should it become a reason to question your own worth. What you are experiencing reflects a shift in your own energy. As your awareness expands, not everything that once traveled beside you is capable of continuing the journey in the same way. This does not require rejecting others or abandoning them without compassion. It simply asks you to acknowledge when something no longer reflects the person you are becoming. The growing distance you notice is not evidence of isolation. It is evidence of increasing clarity. The universe is gently revealing which connections belong in the chapter ahead and which have completed their purpose. Although these realizations may sometimes feel emotionally heavy, They also carry unexpected freedom because they release you from the exhausting effort of maintaining connections that no longer support your continued growth. You may also discover yourself seeking silence more often than before, not because you feel empty, but because something much deeper now longs to listen. The silence calling you is not a void. It is a presence. Within that quiet space, the endless noise surrounding daily life begins fading into the background, allowing truth to become easier to recognize. There, you may suddenly understand situations without anyone needing to explain them. You may sense direction before receiving any external guidance. This happens because your relationship with your own inner voice continues growing stronger. The more willingly you remain within that stillness, the more clearly it begins speaking. What rises from that silence is not fear. It is not confusion. It is a steady direction revealing itself one step at a time with remarkable consistency. The world often celebrates endless activity, constant distraction, and perpetual movement. Yet your own path requires something different. It requires moments of complete stillness because only within those moments can your next step fully reveal itself. At the same time, something is quietly preparing to leave your life, or may already be moving away from it. The departure could involve a long-held belief, an outdated perspective, a relationship, or even an identity you have carried for many years. Part of you may instinctively want to hold on, searching for complete understanding before allowing anything to end. Yet not every release arrives with detailed explanations. Some chapters complete themselves simply because their purpose has already been fulfilled. This should not be viewed as loss in the ordinary sense. It represents necessary clearing. It is the removal of what no longer reflects the energy you are growing into. Although letting go may bring moments of discomfort or sadness, its purpose remains essential because the future waiting for you cannot fully arrive while your hands remain occupied by what belongs exclusively to your past. Allow yourself to trust the process of release even before every reason becomes clear. It is preparing space for something that truly belongs. For much of your life, you may have questioned your own value, doubted your instincts, underestimated your abilities, or made yourself smaller because survival or acceptance once seemed to require it. Yet another profound shift has already begun. Gradually, you are learning to view yourself through a completely different perspective. Instead of seeing yourself through fear, limitation, or uncertainty, you are beginning to recognize yourself through the lens of truth. That recognition carries extraordinary power. You possess greater awareness than you previously allowed yourself to acknowledge. Your abilities extend far beyond what you have demonstrated. Your alignment has become deeper than you have yet fully recognized. This understanding may continue unfolding gradually, rather than all at once, revealing itself layer after layer as each new experience strengthens your confidence. As it continues growing, so too does your willingness to stand fully within your own strength without apology or hesitation. This journey has nothing to do with feeding the ego or placing yourself above anyone else. It is about remembering who you truly are. The moment that recognition settles within your spirit, everything begins changing from the inside outward. Every meaningful transformation eventually reaches a stage where uncertainty becomes especially intense. There comes a point when the direction ahead can be felt with complete certainty, even though it has not yet become visible. Questions rise once again. Doubt attempts one final return. Clarity seems close enough to sense, yet still impossible to grasp completely. This stage should never be mistaken for failure. It represents another threshold. It is the final adjustment before understanding expands in ways your present mind cannot yet fully imagine. The pressure surrounding you is not designed to destroy what you have built. It is refining every lesson you have lived, compressing years of experience into lasting wisdom, turning confusion into unmistakable understanding, and transforming hesitation into purposeful action. Although this stage may sometimes feel overwhelming, remember that it is temporary. It is not preparing you for deeper uncertainty. It is preparing you for revelation.